October the 25th, 2017. As you're looking at one of the posters from Antifa, and it talks about November 4th, and everybody on the web's talking about it. We've mentioned it once before a few weeks ago. But it begins what they're calling the Days of Rage. I didn't say Day of Rage. I said Days of Rage. They're saying they're gonna continue to protest until their numbers grow and grow, day after day, night after night, until they remove the Trump-Pence regime. Says it must go. Now, something else that's happening on that day, just as a note, if I'm not mistaken, you guys can find some information about it. I heard that the Department of Defense is possibly having a nationwide blackout on that day, and or nationwide blackout drill, and practicing for a solar flare that would cause an electromagnetic pulse or an EMP and knock out the power in the United States. A couple things can do that. A solar flare, like they're talking about, going back to the Carrington event, or, you know, an attack from a foreign adversary that could explode a device over the United States that has enough power to simulate an or would be an electronic magnetic pulse, knock out the power. Now, there's a lot of things to think about when you're talking about nationwide blackout. Now, this is just a drill. I'm not saying anything's going to happen there. It's just the same day. But ATMs will not work, things like that. Think about that. 10 days. But anyway, let's go back to this particular subject, the Antifa start of the Days of Rage. November 4th, 2017, we will gather in the streets and public squares of cities and towns across the country. At first, many thousands, declaring that this whole regime is illegitimate and that we will not stop until our single demand is met. The nightmare, or this nightmare, must end. The Trump-Pence regime must go. Our protests must grow day after day and night after night. Thousands becoming hundreds of thousands and then millions, determined to act to put a stop to the grave danger that the Trump-Pence regime poses to the world by demanding that this whole regime be removed from power. Now, guys, all of this was printed and planned when the Trump collusion narrative was going on. Now we know it's all a lie. It was Hillary and Obama, Mueller, and Comey doing the deal with Russia for the uranium in the United States. It's all over the news. Many other people involved. That they were throwing the Trump-Russian collusion story up into the air, trying to defend their own guilt. We know that. Now, another thing I want to say. Here they're talking about becoming thousands and then hundreds of thousands and then millions. If they're really that organized, it would be kind of a massive thing all at one time, and even if it continues until they either get their way or the police step in and under the Department of Justice and really look at some of the problems that we have with this. It's almost becoming an ISIS regime, and could easily, because of this particular information here, be declared a terrorist organization. I look for something to happen along those lines. In a video a couple of days ago called "Babylon is Here, She is Weak," we talked about reports that some of this group is not very big at all. They have people all over, and they're all Soros paid. But the mainstream media makes them appear much larger than they are. And that may go back to the second paragraph. Thousands becoming hundreds of thousands and then millions. So that they're going to protest, they say, until they get their way. Again, this was all printed before Hillary got the they were throwing a rock at Trump. It turned out to be a boomerang. Let's just put it that way. And so what they're hoping for is, again, started out with thousands and then go up to the millions. Keep protesting. Now, in the protests that we've seen, and if you're a member of Antifa, you've got to be honest. They've been very destructive. You broke windows out, you burned police cars, things like that, okay? That's not really that cool. Even though you're being paid by Satan himself, it's your soul that's going to have to pay for it, and you need to think about that. And I want to say this to the rest of America, the deplorables, that here is when you need to show patience, and I'll explain what I'm talking about. And it will be a great test to see how our new administration is going to handle this between, again, Department of Justice, the President himself, the FBI, local law enforcement, state law enforcement. So it will be a test for them, not the deplorable, not the patriots, not now, not on November 4th. And so if you're smart in battle, you don't rush in, because they're not really a threat. What they want to do is create the illusion of a threat. Babylon is confusion and an illusion. It only exists if we allow it to exist, or if we promote it like mainstream is doing. So here's what I'm saying. Let the enemy, in this case the enemy of the United States, the enemy of the entire planet, and they claim to be wanting to save the planet from this nightmare of Trump and Pence. Really? The nightmares spread all across England and Europe. There's no-go zones popping up daily. Cities in this country are becoming no-go zones in certain areas. But they want to stop the nightmare. They are part of the nightmare. Again, words of wisdom to everyone that's concerned about this. Protect your property. That's not what I'm saying. Don't let anybody run over you. But don't rush out into the streets and join one of their protests or in an anti-Antifa protest. That's what they want. That's what George Soros, the puppet master, wants. To create civil war. And so, once you start a civil war, they think they're going to start one. If we're stupid, then that could set up the situation where it could continue to grow and grow and grow, because you're going to create conflicts between different groups of people if you start having major battles. But again, protect yourself, protect your family and your property. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is do not become organized in a sense of rushing in as an anti-protest. They're drawing the patriots into a trap. Not only that, let the first wave move through. I don't think it's going to be that strong, except maybe in some of the, if you notice, it's usually the sanctuary cities that get hit. Kind of strange, isn't it? But anyway, set back. Let's see how the police, Department of Justice, like I said, let's let them handle this. Let's force the people that have sworn to protect the streets, protect the people, and have been trained to do it. Let them come in and do it. If they can't handle it, then the game will change. Now, all of you know how I feel about the politics in this country. You know how I feel about it. I think we need to protect our borders. We need to keep the jobs here for the American people. I'm not against anybody. I don't want anybody coming in here and creating no-go zones. And I don't want people coming in here and killing people and then let out of jail because they're on a nice detainer or setting fires. I don't want that. Do you? No one does. But again, don't fall for the first battle, because it's going to be a longer war. Let that first battle, listen to me, because the deplorables have the back of our police. I think our police know it. But again, don't create a civil war. We're there. We got their back. But let them do it. It's a political chess move is what I'm talking about. And it could prevent a lot of destruction. And keep your political powder dry if you understand what I'm talking about here. There's things that are going on under the scenes that some of you know about, but a lot of it you don't. It's not really very productive to talk about on social media. There's things that are going down that under the table between the deep state, Trump administration, patriots, things like that, guys, that the information will be coming out and we're going to see it. But November 4th is not the time to do anything but protect your family, your property, your interests, things like that. And let's let this go into the hands where it needs to go to, and everyone just be prepared. It's a heads up. Be safe.